Welcome to CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean Tabor. We'd like to thank Kingsway Soft. Kingsway Soft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on Kingsway Soft to integrate data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. Kingsway Soft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, Nav, GP, SL, as well as many other applications like Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, Kingsway Soft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration processes as quick and easy as possible. We're also sponsored by Alexa CRM. WordPress powers more than 25% of all the websites on the internet, and it's the number one choice for blogs, websites, and portals because it's open source, simple to use, reliable, and extensible. And Dynamics 365 is a de facto standard for sales, marketing, and industry solutions. Now, WordPress and Dynamics can work together thanks to the Dynamics CRM WordPress plugin built with love by the Alexa CRM team. To build the plugin, Alexa has created an open-source Dynamics 365 PHP toolkit unlocking the world of Dynamics for PHP developers. You can download your 30-day trial from alexacrm.com/plugin and instantly create a portal by connecting Dynamics 365 and your WordPress site. We thank Kingsway Soft and Alexa CRM for sponsoring CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast.
The one thing, since you guys marketing gurus, one thing I've been trying to get my head around is when you get some advertisement, some crap, I don't know, muscle burning exercise or something like this, and you end up going to this site, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you get this video, and they're saying, like, I'll show you how in 20 minutes you get stuff done. Okay, show me. And you go there, and you get this video where there's endless stream of talk coming through as, illustrated talk. And say, I'm going to show you, this is how it works, but I'm going to show you. And, like, you give up after, 2 minutes. But it's the video that you can't fast forward, and I wonder, how do they actually get anyone watching till the end?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, since Sean and I have done a lot with marketing weight loss cures, it's like, yeah, I've seen those same. I've seen those same things that you get this thing and it's this incredible miracle cure or great investment advice nobody's taking. I'll show you. And then you watch it and they talk about it and never get to what they're showing you because that's what they want to get you're the fish and this is the bait and they're trying to get you hooked. And then you're excited and I'm sure it works. Or at least a lot of people are doing it. It must be working for somebody.
Well, you got to think of it this way. It's not necessarily that they're wanting you to watch this video and do something. If that happens, that's kind of an added benefit. But what that's really doing is that's giving them metrics that they could then sell to advertisers about how long people stay on their site.
Now that makes sense, and that's why won't we talk about it?
Yeah,
because that's actually totally makes sense, because I completely forgot that you can actually, with these videos that are not roll for, you can't sort of skip or do anything. They can actually tell you how far did you watch.
Right. And also just the main page that you're on, if they want you to target a certain product that they're then wanting to turn around and sell ads to, banner ads, what have you, then they're saying, we have 10,000 users a month hit our site and they spend 2.5 minutes,
yeah,
right, or whatever on each page, that kind of thing. It is clickbait, but it's to build those kind of metrics.
No, so you're suggesting that's how we grow our audience? Maybe we have this, listen to our podcast, and we'll share you some tips about how you grow your CRM, and then we never tell them anything.
That's right.
And you can't actually listen to it on the chipmunk speed. We do something.
Yeah.
we start talking really, really fast, so you can't really speed that up, and then we slow down.
That's right.
So you can't really adjust, right?
That's right.
Right.
So
Well, gentlemen, we really don't have any more news about the next release that we don't know, and we've done a lot of speculating. So, is there any news, Sean, this week?
Well, we were just before we jumped on, we were talking about Salesforce and Mr. Benioff. We'll get to him in a second, but one thing I saw was a piece talking about how Salesforce is bringing Einstein to field service, and there was a couple of different pieces to this. Really trying to focus on, and this is one of the quote unquote strengths of Salesforce is the mobility piece, right? Their mobile client is very strong. It's got a lot of features and functionality, but they're extending field service Lightning to that mobile device, and what they're doing is they're giving something called Einstein Vision, equipment and inventory management, and analytics within this package, and all this is accessible on their device. So, for example, this Einstein Vision, this is their move to bring artificial intelligence or augmented reality, that kind of thing, to field service via image recognition. So the way it initially comes across is saying, the power of artificial intelligence and image recognition makes it sound very robust and kind of amazing. But when you really drill into it, what I'm looking at is the example they give is if you have let's say a dishwasher, and you go to take a picture of a part, it will be able to recognize that part and give you the exact product type rather than having to look it up. So that sounds great, but I wonder what kind of infrastructure is needed to make that happen in terms of images, information, what is needed to build that? Because obviously things like Power BI and other data analytics, you need data to be able to harness the power of those business intelligence tools or artificial intelligence tools, right? So to what degree do you have to build up that inventory, or can that be done as you move forward? So you take a picture, doesn't recognize it, can you enter in the information and then it remembers it? Things like that. Their inventory and field management is very similar sounding to what field service for Dynamics 365 offers. And then there's some analytics to provide some actionable insights. So it's interesting to see them moving into the space. Competition's always good, but the pricing and availability that they mentioned in this article, Einstein Vision, it's in pilot and expected to be available in the first half of 2018. Field service equipment and inventory management is available with any field service Lightning license, which starts at $150. Looks like per user for organizations that have at least one Service Cloud license. And analytics is available with any service analytics and field service license. So you can see how they're nesting that functionality on top of each other in terms of licensing and capability. So it'll be interesting to see as we hear more and more about what capabilities field service is going to have for or Salesforce is going to have in the field service space. And
what about IoT? Do they have any traction or promises in IoT land?
Well, it kind of sounds like they're moving towards that with that Einstein Vision, but it doesn't really give a lot of detail on that. I'm sure that's something that they're looking into. But
it's really to see, it's really to see how things change, and that Salesforce obviously lost a few deals because of the presence of the field services and IoT and connected field services on Microsoft offering, and now they quickly playing up a catch-up game. That used to be our domain, playing catch-up game, because Salesforce done something, and now it's completely opposite.
Yep.
And I think latest Gartner Quadrant reflects it very well.
Absolutely.
And Forrester.
Yes, and Forrester. So we'll be keeping our eye on that for those developments and see how that plays out in the future. But I thought it was very interesting to see that they're aggressively getting into that space.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So what else? How else has Mr. Benioff been in the news lately?
Well, in the Twitterverse for our MVP comrades, a lot of them, not me. Mr. Benioff has been following them on Twitter, oddly. And it's not been everybody. There's a few key maverick rogue kind of elements that haven't been followed, like myself, Mr. Tribe. We ne'er-do-wells who don't even get the attention of Mr. Benioff, but that's okay. We're fine with that.
Now, look, myself, I can understand. You, Mr. Hobbit, I can understand. But Leon, he's like biggest Salesforce fan.
He's like Mr. Salesforce. He's been to Dreamforce before.
I think they know that he sees underneath their covers, and he knows the real machinations. So
well, and he's also, I think it's the strategy, and who knows if he really runs his own Twitter account, but basically, there's been news stories or they put out press releases. Hey, laid off Microsoft people, come work for us, because just trying to play off the 3,000 people or so. They never announced the number. There was a rumor it was 3,000 people. Here's the thing people don't get about Microsoft. Microsoft is always downsizing in one area and upsizing in other areas. The last time they laid off thousands of people, they probably wound up hiring, if not as many people, a significant number of people in other places, because as the on-premises side of the business gets smaller, the cloud gets bigger. And so, it sounds massive, 3,000 people laid off, but if you realize how huge Microsoft is and what percentage of their workforce it is, and factor in that they're probably adding workforce and adding headcount in other places, it's the equivalent of a 200 person company laying off 2 people, probably.
Right.
Yeah, overall, right. What Microsoft is spared of 140,000 or something like this.
Globally, yeah.
So it's probably public figures, but definitely into tens and definitely more than 70,000. I think 40,000 in US alone. So yeah, 3,000 may sound like a big deal, but you're right. Reshuffling more than anything else. One thing closes, another door opens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just kind of fun.
So if Mark is listening, please follow CRM Hobbit. He's lonely. He needs more followers.
But the best part, I don't think people realize how cool it is, because once you follow him back, you can DM.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to DM him.
Of course you do.
Why? What would I talk to him about?
Well, that's between you and him, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I'd start getting DMs. I'd be like, Mark, lay off, leave me alone. I got my job. It's cool and all. Yeah, I collect pops too. That's great. Leave me alone. It'd be one of those.
All right.
things.
So next topic. I finished one track of the Adobe marketing training. I wanted to find out what it was all about and where it fit in. And after finishing that, I still don't fully understand exactly what the integration entails, but I think I understand who would want them versus a simpler, platform like Click Dimensions.
Hold on.
And I still
2 questions.
Good.
How many parts, in addition to part 1? And second question, do you want it?
How many parts did I go through? I went through the foundation training for Adobe Campaign. Adobe Marketing Cloud includes 6 different pieces. It includes Adobe. It includes content management pieces. It includes analytics. It includes a number of different pieces that you would use if you wanted to run an advertising company or things like that, or if you want to do the equivalent of social listening. The pieces that tie into the Microsoft agreement are campaign and analytics. And there was a webinar today showing analytics connecting to Power BI. And if you need all that, then sure, you would want it. Just looking at the campaign piece, let me, this is how I explain it. Click Dimensions is a campaign execution tool, meaning you can do a very good job of executing a marketing campaign, drip campaigns, nurture campaigns, whatnot, and you can include various types of activities, great campaign designer, and really, really good landing pages and things like that. It has web analytics, very full-featured product. And the thing that makes Click Dimensions great is it's all within CRM. Whereas Adobe Campaign is also a campaign execution tool, but it's bigger than that. It's a marketing program management tool. So if I want to execute campaigns, but I want to plan out my marketing strategy and have a series of campaigns supporting that strategy and have some intelligence that, George Dubinsky was on campaign 1. He responded to this kind of mailing, but didn't respond to this, factoring that into how he's included in number 2. And then, so it goes beyond that. There are some nice things I saw that I don't believe Click Dimensions or the other smaller platforms have, which is it also does different types of mailings than marketing. It does notification mailings. And so if a company wanted to be able to notify their clients that they had a data breach or that they'd have a service outage, but want to do it in a way that is consistent with the branding of their marketing, Adobe has that as well and has the logic to know which one should follow the opt-in, opt-out logic and which should not, and the ability to see statistics on that as well. So that's where I can see also enterprise companies that want more of a detailed approval process on their marketing campaigns and collateral. Don't just want to create some templates and send out a campaign, but they have, the VP of marketing needs to sign off on certain things and it can't send out until that happens. Adobe Campaign will do that. So my takeaway is the standard, typical companies, small to medium sized businesses or, small enterprises will still want something like Click Dimensions. The people who are, larger enterprises or bigger marketing groups that want to do more marketing program management, Adobe looks very attractive to that. And if you look at the Click Dimensions this last week, I'll try and find a copy of this that I can put in the blog post about this episode. They came out with a guide, kind of showing where they're going. And Click Dimensions is stepping up their game. They're adding web analytics features and pieces as well. But they had a very nice chart at the beginning that I think shows where their sweet spot is going to be. It showed Dynamics Business Edition marketing as the small to medium-sized business choice. People who just want basic campaign management and want to be able to do, basic campaign management. And then for the larger, medium to small enterprise, Click Dimensions that's their sweet spot. For larger than that, it's probably something like like Adobe Marketing, Marketo. The tools of that scale support the functionality that you want.
So in terms of all the functionality in Adobe Marketing, because it's really more of an agency level marketing tool that can be componentized, is what I'm gathering from that, right?
Right, but I understand you can license certain parts of it, and they do have a standard and an enterprise version of Adobe Campaign as well.
So what would you say, based on the initial exposure to it, what would you say the average customer is going to purchase? Do you see a big space where they're going to purchase the entire suite, or is that really more a specialized case?
I think if it's an enterprise that is already bought into the Adobe Creative Cloud and using the tools in Adobe Creative Cloud to create marketing collateral, they would probably use multiple pieces from the suite. They will, because it works with it. It will take that content. It will help them do A/B testing on the content and target that message and get analytics on it, and all these pieces that work together. But I could see others, and I've worked with companies, a large insurance company that had Adobe Marketing Cloud and was mainly using the campaign functionality from it.
Okay.
The question comes down to how extensive is the integration? Because again, if it's not going to be as integrated as Click Dimensions, we know that. If I can start with a marketing list and can do that, and that's the piece that the training was more the generic training, not the integration specifically. But if I can do that, then that's a start. And if I can, the two things that people want mainly from an integrated marketing platform is the ability to easily send a list to the marketing tool to do a campaign, and then the ability to see the marketing history of customers. So that if I go to the Alexa CRM record and I can see, okay, what was George sent? And I can see the sends, what was sent to him, and maybe the metrics about responded. I gotta say, I don't think doing the whole thing in CRM is a showstopper if you can't do the whole thing in CRM. In some ways, the marketing tools like Adobe have rich functionality around, for example, I thought that the way you can build a list and can filter things out was a lot more elegant than Advanced Find. Okay. So if you in some ways, if I had the list in the marketing platform and have some power tools that I can use to build a really targeted list and factor in how they responded to other campaigns, I don't see in some cases the marketing wants a different platform. Mm-hmm. Because the marketing people never go to opportunities. Marketing people generally don't do regular activities. Marketing people, may look at account information, but usually it's to see the marketing related things, or to use in factors when they build their targeted lists.
Right. But I mean, do you have any comparison to like the Salesforce Marketing Cloud used to be Exact Target in terms of how it's kind of, because you could use that with the Dynamics connector, and is that kind of a similar kind of implementation that you think, or is it not quite that?
I think we're going to have to wait for a few months. We've got a couple of prospective opportunities in the hopper right now. And, I can't answer that question until I see some real world deployments, going on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we worked with a number of tools, had some Act On experience recently. We've had Marketo, Sales Fusion, and, all of them are fine platforms. The one thing that I think is something that I would say, if you are a Dynamics partner wanting to do a lot of business with marketing, focus not only on the tools, but more be able to, build the skill set to be able to advise people on how to effectively market. That's what I see customers looking for, is not necessarily the tools, but they want to know, okay, how should I use these tools? How should I structure my campaigns? How should I target people if I want to increase cross-selling? Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing, just knowing the tools. In some ways, brushing up on the theory behind it is more important than knowing what button you click to send a campaign out. That's important and that's necessary. But whether you're using Click Dimensions or you're using Adobe or you're using Marketo, that's really when it becomes effective, is how do you use those tools to meet your company goals.
Sure.
It's enough marketing talk, though.
But it's good talk.
So we are fast approaching our milestone of 1,000 tips on crmtipoftheday.com. What's our current count, George? We're something like 720 or 925, I think.
Something like this. Yeah, the pipe goes. We still have a long way to go, but it's exciting. At least.
And many people, when they're approaching 1,000 tips, would start to get tired in the final stretch of the race there. But no, we're turning up the heat, putting on the gas, and we've gone to 7 tips a week. I find that hard to believe.
That's because we set up an arbitrary deadline, but let's talk about it a bit later on.
I think the most popular tip that we've had recently was the one we had about too many business units.
No,
and that was regarding.
Surprised the popular one. The most popular one is the business units was quite popular, but I'm surprised that lately we're getting lots of traction not on small tips, though we do, but not on small tips, but on somewhat opinionated pieces. So the best one was when I did a review of deprecated features in Dynamics 365 and what do they mean. But I didn't just post a list, so I went through and I reclassified lists saying, this is important, you should pay attention to it, this is rubbish, this is like minor thing, and so on. And we've got like...
So you copy-pasted the list and then put some snarky comments in it.
Correct, yeah. No. I sorted the list.
Yeah, and you had like announcements. What was your comment on announcements?
Oh, I don't remember. Good riddance.
My comment is, can you find the announcements entity? Sean, can you go to Dynamics 365 environment and find announcements?
Yep. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to go to my instance.
Let's time him. How long does... Okay, time
okay,
start
that's
now.
a good...
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Joel, that's a good way to
in.
exclude Hobbit till the rest of our... podcast.
No, come on! I gotta log into the environment. Come on now. Just give me ready in the middle. You just kept talking.
Okay, so
I found it.
So you found the announcements.
Yeah, settings administration announcements.
So okay,
no. But as a user,
who sees them?
How do you get to that as a user?
That's it. You have to go to the settings area. It's not exposed in the front anymore.
So you can't announce. You can make announcements. It's like you're standing in your closet and announcing something, and no one hears you.
Right. You have to do a configuration change to the sitemap and move announcements to somewhere your users can get to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
If entity was available in the standard list of entities you can pick from, but it's no longer there. You go to advanced find, and it won't be there.
I think they just took the sitemap link out because it used to be in CRM3 and CRM4 before
and I still have
dashboards
like an Augur 2 where it still hangs around. But anyway, so speaking of this,
just real quick to clear this up, in App Designer, what you'd have to do is you'd have to find the relative URL for the announcements and add it that way. You would not be able to find it by the entity. You are correct.
Okay,
there you go.
So long live announcements. But my comment was on announcement. Now I remember. My comment on announcements was that who would have thought that companies would want to customize the way they announce things to people, right? So it was from day one. It was completely non-customizable entity. There is no way to extend it, or modify it, or put conditions on it, and that was dead on arrival, basically.
So the other tip that I mentioned was the too many business units. This came from somebody who asked me a question. We want to have 800 business units. Is that a good idea? And I told them no. And then I asked some other people, and they all said no. And the reason is you don't want to do that is because if you ever get more than 50 or 60, changing security roles takes forever because it has to make a copy of that role for each business.
Someone did mention the metric that it takes them over 2 hours
to make one change to a security role.
To save,
and it also
to save the change. Yes.
And also, if you move somebody after 2 years that's been in a business unit and been an active user, it feels like you're practicing elective surgery because something is going to go wrong. Either it's going to time out because there's so many records, or somebody's going to have want the records that he owned that they now can't see. So the takeaway was do that. And somebody put in the comment, what would you say to this comment, guys? They said, well, this shows that Dynamics isn't ready for companies the size of Walmart. So, I mean, would you agree with that? That it's because you can't have 800 business units, a company like Walmart couldn't use Dynamics?
No, I don't agree with that.
It reminds me of my experience with the topic. I had 900 business units. I was asked to give my opinion. That was CRM 2011. And basically, the structure was not quite Walmart. What they had is one of the big franchises. And they said, oh, brilliant. What we're going to do, we want to give it to franchisees, the Dynamics 365, or Dynamics CRM back in the day. So we want to give it to franchisees. So each franchise is going to be a business unit. Brilliant. So they sold it, they installed it, they started rolling through. And then at some point, someone, there's always this smart ass in the room who said, wait a minute. Do you realize that the same person can own more than 2 franchises? And suddenly, everything came to a halt, besides the performance problem. So I was brought in when this happened, and they started experiencing serious performance problems. And recommendation was, sorry, guys, you would have to tear it down and rebuild it because there was no way to improve it. Remember, you couldn't delete business unit before? I think it was CRM 4 days.
Right.
You couldn't delete business units.
That's right.
So it's like you're dead, right? So it's kind of that was interesting. My experience and precisely the same. It's like you can't do that. And the one thing I always one advice I always give people when they start designing their CRM, I said, look, business units is not a reflection of your organizational structure.
Correct.
It's a security model.
Correct. Right.
It's part of security.
Especially now that you got teams, you could create a team for each franchise, and then you could have the be. We didn't have that back then.
No.
Yeah, we didn't have team ownership back then, so you had to sometimes do that. Those days are gone. So the flip side, and George, I believe you asked me, should we do the flip side? Too few business units, and so I guess. Can you have too few business units? I guess the answer would be yes, but it's a lot less painful to add one than it is to take one away.
Yeah, but the problem that I have is when people change their security model halfway. So they're saying, okay, well, we're going to have one business unit. We have no secrets in our organization. Okay, fine, whatever, right? So there's this one massive business unit, and it's typically a root business unit. And then halfway people say, oh, but our boss, he's got some private contacts that he doesn't want anyone but he and his PA to manage, to have access to those contacts. And you say, oh, you should have told me this before, shouldn't you? That's one of the reasons why I tend to go when I have a slightless doubt about their one unit, we have trust in everyone policy. I tend to recommend that you set up not at the root business level, but you always you create a business unit, put everyone in, but one level down. That gives you kind of room to move.
Yeah, I agree with that because, I'll go back to, our company before we were acquired by Hitachi. We were a smaller company and we had everybody in one business unit. And then we got acquired, and that's what happens. And then you're bigger and have more groups. And so, I think that's sage advice that it may be wise to always go, even if everybody's in one business unit, always go one level down because you can never reparent the root business unit. Right. And if you have everybody there, you're insuring yourself against that possibility. And, instead of having to move everybody's business unit, which is extremely painful, you may be only having to move a few people, or you can put another business unit in there between that and one in the root if you need to add another level. I think so. So now write that down. That'll be the flip side post. Too few business units.
Brilliant. And I've been lately doing the rounds on the wildcard search, It's funny, the subject came back like 600 tips later or 700 tips later. The subject is coming back because I've been doing the real work, and I had to find people where surname include space. And it took me, right? Try to search contain space, right? Basically, advanced finds tell you where to go. Anyway, I found the way around it, but now I have a mental challenge because when you save the record in UI, right, you have, and let's say you put trailing spaces and you save it. The trailing space is gone, right?
Right.
Correct. Now, if you update the record in the workflow, and you have trailing spaces as part of your update, guess what happens? The spaces make it to the database. So when you retrieve, the record comes back with the trailing space. As silly as it sounds, it's not a big deal, unless, in my case, the record was forming part of the subdomain. So it was like a foobar space dot companyname.com or something like this. It was invalid, right? So now I'm facing with the challenge, because of this silly mistake in the workflow, find all the records with the trailing space. That's a new challenge. I didn't solve it yet.
Yeah, we've had, I recall, I don't know which version they brought in where it would strip out this trailing space, but either CRM3 or CRM4 would let you save a record with a trailing space. And then they took that out, and we just noticed it.
I think 4 started stripping it out.
But if you had records that were created before that, it kept them. And I recall it was extremely difficult to get rid of the trailing space if you had the trailing space in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid writing code. So here's the challenge for our 5 listeners. Here's the challenge: how to find the records without resorting to writing code. How to find the records where a specific field contains a trailing space. Oh, I think I just realized how to do that. It'd have to be.
Are you going to tell us? Or are you going to save it for the tip?
No, I'm open the eye. I can tell you. Basically, the idea is that you need to get the value out. I haven't figured the details yet, but you need to update it by appending something to it. Then look for the space. Then remove what you just appended. You would have probably to use some workflow libraries. I used, I think Jason Latimer has a workflow extension library with the where it includes search string manipulations. But basically, yes. Oh, and I just found another answer.
No, wait. Could you use Immersive Excel to do this?
That's
because
a good
Excel,
point.
you can search for contained space. You could update them all and then save it.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll do the research. I'll put the tip up. But the other way is to use this string manipulation extension library and just use regex or regex. How you say it? Is it regex or regex? The regular expression.
Well,
yeah.
Well, if it's a regular expression, it would be regex.
Regex. So I would use, but
it's
if
a
you follow
registry
English
editor,
grammar, it would be regex, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
So anyway, I use this
enough.
regex to find the trailing space. So here's another method, but Immersive Excel is interesting. I'll do the post on
My
that.
approach sounds easier.
But you see the little things like how you find the space. That's funny. It's funny.
Well, I thought of a new feature we can try, and what brought this to mind is I was in, and every CRM partner's office has this. You have the one office that has the old books in it, the bookshelf of books from the past, and I picked up the Working with CRM 2011 book from Jim and Mike, and I opened it up, just random page, and it was the form customization, and I read several pages and it would all still apply to CRM, to Dynamics 365. It was about how to drag and drop things on the form and set the properties and everything. So I thought, it might be nice to have bring up something from the past that we're still find usable. And I had an example right from today where I had one of my team members was having trouble with a security thing, and I came to find out that they were trying to use team security roles as kind of an inherited security role where you don't give the users any roles, but you put them on the team. And the thing I still find extremely helpful is a blog post from Adam Vero from 2013. We've linked to it from Tip of the Day at least once, but it's basically team security, an inconvenient half-truth, where basically he digs in and goes into it, and it makes your brain hurt to think through it, where basically the nuances, people think it's inherited security from the team, and it can be, but basically if you have a permission, like a user level permission in the team role, and the user doesn't have any role for it, that only applies to records owned by the team, not by the user.
Yeah,
right.
We should do the video on that on our YouTube channel
or team, right?
We should do a video where we say we're gonna tell you the secrets how the team membership works. Stay with us. We waffle for about an hour.
And then and then Sean can say, "Yeah, we had a lot of trouble. We thought we were doing team security right, but we weren't until we found this magic tip."
That's right.
And then we could go. We could cut to like a demonstration of me trying to get security working, and then looking up at the camera saying, "There's got to be a better way."
That's right. One thing I found some people don't know is when they try and drag and drop fields on the form, and it's like when they do it seven fields in a row, and it's just painful to watch. And just the other day I said, "Did you know you can double click and it will add it?" And it was kind of, really? Whoa, it's a time saver.
Yeah.
I wonder if I should tip it, but it's kind of so obvious that you didn't know that you can double click the field.
And there's this interesting thing going on where the product now is moving so fast that there aren't any good introductory books for Dynamics 365. There's videos and there's learning stuff and there's good trainers out there and everything, and there's help content, but there's some really good stuff that's in books like the CRM Field Guide chapter on workflows or the Working with CRM 2011 book that is still 90% accurate for the way it is now, but everything that's written now is about the new shiny new features.
That's the problem. You just outlined what the actual problem is. Just stepping aside slightly, did you ever wonder why most of the Microsoft documentation never has any screenshots in it? Because screenshots tie you back to a specific version, and it's extremely costly to replace those or modify. So that's the problem with introductory books or even topics on the web, is that introductory typically means illustrated. Illustrated means it will get obsolete really, really fast, and it will be very expensive to fix it. So that's the only challenge with illustrated guides too. Things changing way too fast. And unfortunately for introductory books on dummy guides to XYZ or Dynamics 365, that's the reality. But as you mentioned, the funny thing is that 90% still stands.
Let me ask you this question. Are either of you guys on the Windows Insider rings? Do you get the Insider builds? Or
I got
do you
scared
just
by
all
the stories when people had to pave their machines and these doesn't work, that doesn't work.
Get them
I don't have a spare machine to go around, so what I use...
chickens.
Yeah. Are you on?
Well, I keep my lockdown work machine off of it because I can't. It's locked down. But I keep my Surface. I have it on. I think it's on the fastest ring or the next to the fastest. And what I'm really liking is the files on demand from OneDrive. It now is coming back to the way it was in Windows 8, but much better and much more dependable. They did away with the file placeholders. So if you had a terabyte of data and you wanted to see it all, but you only wanted to store a certain amount, they put placeholders, and that wasn't very stable. They now have this thing called Files on Demand, where it gives you access to all your files, and it downloads them the first time you use them. And so when that came, I freed up about 50 gigabytes on my computer.
Funny thing is that the good
that.
features are coming. Versioning is coming. They didn't say when, but it is coming to OneDrive. So OneDrive is kind of catching up with the Dropbox in terms of feature sets. So, but catching up well. Mm-hmm. So let's see what comes out of it. But no, I'm too chicken. I don't have the luxury of machine for work, machine for pleasure. So I can't afford to nuke my machine every week, or how often you receive drops, weekly or bi-weekly.
I actually haven't. I've had one time where it stopped a certain application from running. It was coincidentally the application I used to edit podcasts. But fortunately, I had another machine I could do that on, and then I updated it again, and it worked.
I do have not the tool, but hardware recommendation. It's the recommendation itself, not mine. It came from none other but Scott Hanselman. But I just decided to follow his recommendation and got myself a Wi-Fi mesh. So I've got small house, but it's intricate. Lots of walls, small walls here and there. So Wi-Fi penetration
and dungeons.
Yes, and dungeons, and I work in a dungeon, so Wi-Fi penetration is not as good as it could be, right? So I said I should put a stop to low signal Wi-Fi signal when I'm in bed. I should be able to embrace or when I'm outside. So I used to have this monster Wi-Fi router, and I replaced it with the AmpliFi mesh. It's called AmpliFi. We can put the link, but it's made by Ubiquiti Network, which is well-known manufacturer of the high-end mesh devices. And if you need to do a proper wiring of a, football stadium, that's the way to go. But what they released is a consumer or prosumer device. You buy a small box, which is work of beauty. It's on display now, and I'm not ashamed of it. And then you put this, you just plug in the mesh extenders, and it just works. And they've got the app on the phone that where you can control the devices, see the signal strength. You need to move things around to find the most appropriate places. But now I've got single Wi-Fi. I don't need to switch between 2.4 and 5 gig to find the fastest. So 5 gig is faster, but it dies quicker and so forth. It just works. And I can now watch Netflix in bed, and I can, work outside in the shade, of course, with plenty of sunscreen. So it's brilliant. It's really, really good. It's a consumer level device, so things do go wrong sometimes for some people. Didn't go for me, but it's just excellent. So if you have a big house, and you can buy more of these extenders, and they're kind of smart enough to figure out who they should talk to. So it's a mesh device. So if you have a big house and you have problems, with Wi-Fi, in the corners of your house or in different places, this is the way to go. It's really brilliant. And there are a couple competitors in the market, also highly regarded and highly ranked, but this one is probably the user-friendliest one.
Now, do you need repeaters to really make it effective? Or
No.
Is it just the one device coming off of the router?
The whole thing, these mesh points, you just plug them into power, and they're really funky kind of mesh points. These mesh points are your repeaters. If you want to, you can put the other base. If you've got, let's say, on the second floor, you've got the wired connection, you can plug in the second base, that certainly would give you a better coverage. But the idea is that you don't configure repeaters or anything like that. I think it's a slightly different technology, the mesh one. It's kind of similar to repeaters, but better.
Okay.
You don't need to mess around that this is the repeater, this is the point, this is the name, I want to connect repeater. No, you just plug in and it just works. And it tells you, here's devices you've got, here's the signal. You should really try to reposition this antenna because the signal is a bit low. So you try to, just change the angle and says, yep, now it's cool. So it's actually brilliant. So I follow Scott's recommendations, and it's really good.
Good recommendation. I found, because for several months I was having just really frustrating experiences with my Wi-Fi, and I had worked out this thing where I put all the lesser devices on the 2.4, and I was going to use the 5 gigahertz for mine.
Doing that.
And it would die. But I have a Netgear Nighthawk router, which is fairly highly rated, and worked well. But what I read is, there's a setting that I could let the router manage it for you, and then it just shows one, and then it decides what should be on what. It's been a lot better since I've done that.
Yeah, there's certainly improving. The devices are improving, but regardless how big is the router, there's a certain limit of physical limit, like 5 gig wouldn't penetrate floor and 2 walls. With the sufficient signal strength. Depends what's in those walls. If they skeletons in the closet, it's even worse, right? And once you go outside, trees are a nightmare for Wi-Fi. So this is kind of things you want someone else to manage for you.
Right. How about you, Sean? You got any recommendations?
The only thing I don't have a hardware recommendation, but I did my first IFTT recipe.
Ooh.
Yeah? What is that?
Yeah. And it's lame. I'm gonna put that right out front.
Tell me it's paella.
It was fun for me. No, it's I set up my iPhone to tell my Amazon Alexa device to play a podcast to wake me up.
You tell your phone. So Siri, tell Alexa. Yeah, is that how?
No, what happened is you record. What I had to do is you record a voice memo, convert it to a tone, so that you set an alarm on your phone. After I implemented it, I was like, well, why don't I just use the alarm on the phone? But you have to create a tone so that the alarm will trigger the tone that will tell tell Alexa to play the podcast. So I had it. I told it to launch an NPR podcast that's like the first day's news, right?
So at a certain time, it has your voice saying, "Alexa, play."
Yeah. Right.
I think there's an easier way to do that. Can't you
work
on an alarm to just play the podcast?
Yes, you could. But I was just having fun, and this is what I did, and it woke me up.
Why don't you just have the IFTT play a sound of you saying, "Hey, knucklehead, get out of bed"?
No, that's after I did the exercise. That's pretty much what I came to, the conclusion. But it is what it is.
Brilliant.
It is what it is.
This has been CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast, with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean Tabor. This podcast is a production of Dynamic Podcasts LLC. Follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any place else that fine podcasts are available. You can email us at voice@crm.audio with questions or topic suggestions. Special thanks again to our sponsors, Kingsway Soft and Alexa CRM, and thanks to Dale Simmons for providing our music.